Hello folks, let's get started off with the webinar. So all of us are here today to learn about the 3 steps to a dream big data role. This webinar is intended for our Simplilearn Hadoop students so that they can easily navigate the complicated world of big data skills and roles and achieve their career potential. As you know, big data is being used across industries. There are a variety of technologies that are being used. There are different kind of roles, and and it's an emerging field. So there's a lot of new updates and a lot of things that only somebody with a lot of industry experience and a lot of industry know-how will know. So we requested our big data influencer Lillian Pearson so that she could chart out the whole big data scenario, the various domains that are there, the various skill sets that are required, the various job opportunities that are there, so that you can take an informed decision and plan your career and achieve your true potential, so that you can set yourself apart as big data professionals and achieve the best roles and projects that are out there. So we have with us Lillian Pearson here. She's a experienced big data scientist with more than 14 years of work experience. She's also the author of 3 very highly referenced technical books, Data Science for Dummies, Big Data Hadoop for Dummies, and Managing Big Data Workflows. She has spent the last decade training and consulting for large organizations in the private sector, such as IBM, Dell, Intel, and also numerous government organizations, right from, say, the US Navy to the local government level. She's also the founder of Data Mania. It's her passion to be an evangelist for big data, and also she's a data journalist, and she has shared her unique industry experience and know-how with a lot of people. And I will be handing over the presentation to Lillian Pearson.
Thank you so much, AJ. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to 3 Steps to a Big Data Role of Your Dreams. Happy Wednesday. I'm excited to be presenting for you all today. Today I'm going to clarify what's involved in becoming a big data architect or engineer, but there's actually a lot more to this presentation than just that. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to introduce the topic and what are the benefits and drawbacks of establishing a career in big data. After that, I'm going to go into the who's and what's of a big data career. That is, who's hiring, what positions are available, and what's required to fill those positions. After that, I'll be talking about the big data architect and engineer career paths and identifying the skill sets that are involved in those, and follow that with current salary trends for big data roles. How much are these skills really worth? We're going to end this session today talking about the next steps you can take to get started in your, I guess you guys are already part of the Big Data Hadoop Developer course, so it's not get started since you're already on your way. But what are the next steps you can take in the evolution of your training career path? AJ already introduced me, but I'll just take a few seconds to introduce myself. I'm Lillian Pearson. I'm a data scientist, a data science educator, and a data journalist. I'm also a professional engineer. I author books. I did Data Science for Dummies and Big Data Hadoop for Dummies. I'm a social influencer and a brand evangelist in the big data space, and it's been more than 14 years now. I have experience working in the fields between data science and spatial data science. So anyway, enough about me. Let's get started on the webinar. We're going to talk first about the benefits of establishing a career in big data. The most clear and obvious benefits of establishing a career in big data is the high level of demand for these type of professionals and the high salaries. But it's really good to consider also the work environment. For most big data professionals is quite friendly and happy. the companies that are hiring really want to keep the staff that they have because of the demand is so high. So they have a lot of flexibility, allowing people to work from home, and when you're working in the office, just, really cool, laid back policies about attire and these sort of things, pizza parties, all that. So it's a good work environment. Also, you will enjoy the benefits of having a prestigious position because, like I said, the demand is high and the supply of these type of professionals is so low that data analytics and big data engineers and architects have a lot of prestige within an organization. Also, what I really like is that the work can be applied to all industries. So whatever your passion is, you can find an opportunity within that industry. And if you look at the work in a broader picture, you're doing decision support. So it's pretty meaningful because you're helping affect change that would otherwise not be possible if you weren't present. So it's meaningful work. Those are the benefits of a career in big data. The drawback is that, of course, the work's really technical, so you have to spend a lot of time and effort getting trained. And then there's a lot of responsibility. There's not going to be a lot of people you can turn to help you get the job done. So people are going to be looking at you to perform and to get things right the first time. And since there's undersupply of professionals that can work in this capacity, you're going to be lucky if you have a good support staff. You're probably going to be having to do a lot of work, get a lot accomplished on your own, and getting the job of your dreams, it might require a relocation. But I'm going to talk about some jobs in India and also jobs in the United States during this webinar. The last drawback is that a lot of the bigger companies are wanting several years of experience. So overcoming the experience threshold can be a challenge, but not necessarily. So, okay. Now that you have a realistic picture of the career field, let's talk about the who's and what's of a big data career. Who's hiring, what positions are available, and what's required to fill those positions. Before we narrow in on the big data architect and engineer roles, I want to at least give you a little information about the big data industry at large. Although this is not a comprehensive list of all the roles in the space, it'll at least give you an idea of what's happening. So I've broken up main roles in big data space down to big data, data science, and data visualization. So for those of you on the big data career path, then the roles that you're most likely to get when you finish would be a big data architect or a big data engineer. For data scientists, they work as data scientists or data analytics engineers. And data visualization professionals usually get jobs as data visualization developers. So these are the roles that I'm going to be talking about today in this section. Starting first with the data visualization developer role, the purpose of these type of professionals is to build data showcasing, analytical, and visual monitoring tools, and to develop data visualization solutions. And most of the job advertisements out there are asking for at least a bachelor's degree. And of course, skills in HTML, JavaScript, D3, and the likes. As far as companies that are hiring data visualization developers, there's GM, IBM, and the weather company are actually hiring for data visualization developers right now. But honestly, there are less positions available for people within this specialty. Turning now to data scientist in the data analytics engineer role, the purpose of this type of position of people working, the purpose behind this job is to build algorithmic models for detecting patterns in or responding to high volume real-time big data. And these type of professionals are building decision support applications for analyzing, visualizing, and modeling big data to make better predictions and drive better results. Most of the position descriptions out there are now asking for a master's degree plus. And of course, skills in Python are SQL, statistics, machine learning, and of course, a strong subject matter expertise. Right now, the following companies are hiring for data scientists. There's an undersupply of data scientists as well as data engineers. So right now you can get a job with Indeed, Intuit, Under Armour, Facebook, Monsanto, or Birchworks. And now that you've gotten just a brief look at other roles within the big data space, I want to focus more in on the big data architect and engineer role. The purpose of the work these type of professionals do is to source, acquire, collect, store, process, integrate, prepare, and perform simple analysis on massive data sets. As far as the skills and education that are required, most position descriptions, most job ads out there are asking for a bachelor's degree or higher training, and higher training, as well as skills in Hadoop, MapReduce, Scala, Spark, NoSQL, Java, Python, among others. The skill requirement definitely isn't limited to that list, but you could expect these to see these requirements in the job advertisements. Companies that are hiring for big data architects and engineers include Amazon, IBM, Dish Network, TM, and Oracle. I want to take a moment now just to take you on a little interesting detour, because many times I've seen ads for positions where companies are hiring for so-and-so engineer or so-and-so developer, but then the position description looks almost identical, and it's hard to tell the difference between those titles. So I did a little research, and I found a survey by O'Reilly from 2015. It really clarified the differences between the engineer, architect, and developer titles in the big data space. Survey respondents with the title architect reported using more D3, Java, Hortonworks, and Cassandra. And they reported spending more time on ETL and meeting attendance compared to developers and engineers. The developers reported using our programming language less and using JavaScript and D3 more. And they reported, it sounds like they were working more as data visualization developers. Lastly, the engineers reported using less R, Excel, and SAS, and more Scala and Spark. They reported it was less likely to spend time presenting analysis. This brings us to section 3 of today's webinar, the big data architect engineer career path, identifying the skills involved. Thinking back on what we've learned so far, big data architects report spending more time using Java, Hortonworks, and Cassandra. I'm assuming that the Java work is for programming and MapReduce. And the big data engineers are reporting spending more time working in Scala and Spark and MongoDB. Just to remind you guys, the purpose of these types of roles is to source, acquire, collect, store, process, integrate, prepare, and perform simple analysis on massive data sets. So what are the stepping stones to a big data role of your dreams? Those are really gaining mastery and experience in the skills that are required to carry out the job. Those skills include Hadoop and MapReduce, Spark, Scala, MongoDB, Cassandra, and then also a lot of the positions are talking about wanting people to have experience in Impala, Storm, and Kafka. Before going into a more narrow discussion of these technologies and skill set, let's see how they all fit and flow together. So I made this schematic here. It's really simple, but it hopefully gets the point across. You can see here that at the base, you've got the data storage layer, where you've got Hadoop, the HDFS and MapReduce. You've got NoSQL databases and also Apache Kafka operating in the data storage layer. Then above that, you've got the data processing layer. And you've got either batch processing tools like MapReduce or real-time processing tools that are either in-memory applications or NoSQL applications. And then up top, you've got the data consumption layer, which I've just included all of the analytics and data science work within that layer. So we're going to look here at where does Hadoop fall within the big picture. Of course, it's going to fall within the data storage layer with the HDFS acting as the file system storing data, and MapReduce doing the processing work. So it's on the data storage and data processing layer. We're going to now take some time to get a more in-depth look at all of these skills and technologies that go into big data engineering and big data architecture. For each technology, I'm going to be sure to emphasize the basics of what that technology does and how it fits in the bigger picture of a big data solution. I'm sure you guys are mostly all aware because you're already enrolled in this course, but Hadoop is an open source framework for collecting, processing, and storing big data. It uses the Hadoop HDFS to store massive volumes of data, and MapReduce for carrying out large-scale batch processing jobs. I want to add here that according to the CIO website, research analysis they carried out, people with Hadoop skills are earning 13.7% more salary than just, say, software engineers without the Hadoop developer skills. So what Hadoop does. The Hadoop framework stores huge volumes of big data on commodity servers across a cluster. It also processes that data using the MapReduce parallel processing engine. How Hadoop fits in the broader picture of a big data technology system, the Hadoop framework acts as a data storage and a data processing application. It stores data in redundancy across nodes on commodity servers. It also uses MapReduce to batch process huge volumes of data. So, okay, now you've seen where Hadoop and MapReduce fit in, but let's move on to some of the other types of technology you may be less aware of. First, we're going to talk about Spark. Spark is an application that fits in the data processing layer. It's an in-memory application, a real-time processing tool. According to the Apache Spark website, they've defined Spark as a fast and general engine for large-scale data processing. It allows you to run programs up to 100 times faster than MapReduce in memory or 10 times faster on disk. So when I think of Spark, for me, I think of real-time analytics from streaming big data sources, because that's one thing you can do with Apache Spark. And as a data scientist, that's the most interesting purpose for Spark, in my opinion. But let's look what Spark does. Spark is a general processing engine that is used to carry out batch processing as well as real-time processing, ad hoc data querying, and even machine learning. Looking at where Spark fits in, Spark is a real-time data processing application that's used to process and analyze all varieties and velocities of big data. The same CIO source cited that Spark and Scala skills can get employees up to $15,000 more per year in earnings. Turning now to NoSQL, it's on the data processing layer as well as the data storage layer because it's a database application. What NoSQL databases do? NoSQL databases use a variety of database technologies to store and retrieve both non-relational and relational data. There are 4 types of NoSQL database. Those are key value stores, graph databases, document stores, and column stores. Where NoSQL databases fit in, NoSQL databases are part of the data storage layer of a big data system. They're used for storing and quickly retrieving structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. We're going to talk about MongoDB and Cassandra today. Those are both types of NoSQL databases. First, looking at MongoDB. MongoDB is a document-oriented type of NoSQL database. It uses dynamic schemas and stores data in a model that is very similar to that of JSON. It's the most popular type of document store on the market. What it does, MongoDB uses a dynamic schema to store document files in a flexible storage model. The flexibility of this model allows for rapid adoption and advancement during development. MongoDB acts as both a data storage application and a real-time data retrieval application for document files. So that's the thing you want to remember about MongoDB is that it's a NoSQL database for document files. And according to the CIO website, MongoDB professionals are earning 16.5% more salary than their counterparts. Looking at the Cassandra solution, Cassandra is an open source project and a second-generation distributed NoSQL database. It's the best choice for higher availability and scalability of the database, according to Simplilearn. And it's a very popular type of key value store NoSQL database. What Cassandra does. Apache Cassandra stores and manages large amounts of key value paired data across a cluster of commodity servers. It acts as both a data storage application and a real-time data retrieval application for key value data. So when you think of Cassandra, you want to think of a key value store. Now we're going to look at Apache Kafka. That's located on the data storage layer. Apache Kafka is an open source, highly distributed, and fault-tolerant message broker designed for accommodating real-time data feeds. It's written in Scala. According to Simplilearn, it's the preferred messaging platform for processing big data in real time and fast processing of real-time message feeds. What Kafka does. Kafka is a publish-subscribe messaging system that's used for maintaining message feeds on a topic-by-topic basis. As a data storage application, Kafka replicates and stores messages across several nodes for built-in fault tolerance. And where Kafka fits in, it's a distributed data storage platform that accommodates requirements involved in real-time message data processing. Next, we're going to look at another in-memory application called Impala, and it sits in the data processing layer. Impala is a popular type of massively parallel processing database, and you use it as a SQL engine to bypass MapReduce and query data directly from the HDFS. What it does is it sits on top of the HDFS and allows users to use SQL to perform fast ad hoc queries of data that's stored there. So Impala a lot of times is used by data scientists in order to get the data out of the HDFS without having to work with MapReduce. Where it fits in, Impala is an in-memory data processing application that sits on top of the HDFS. According to the CIO source, you can expect Impala and professionals with Impala skills are earning 16.5% more salary than their counterparts. And this brings, now that you understand these skills and technologies it's time for me to introduce you to the steps you can take to help you get the big data position of your dreams. Step 1 is to get trained as a big data and Hadoop developer. So congratulations to all of you because you're already enrolled in training for that and may have even completed that first step. So pat yourself on the back for that. The next step is to get trained in Spark, Scala, and MongoDB. And then the third step would be to get trained in Cassandra. But if you really want to optimize your return on investment here, you'll take an extra step to hybridize your skill set. So I would add a step 4. Hybridize your skill set by getting trained in Impala, Storm, and or Kafka. These will get you prepared for the higher earning positions in the market. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but let's just start by next looking at the current salary trends for big data roles. And then I'll show you how these hybrid roles are where people are earning the highest salaries. Section 4, we're at section 4 now, and this is where we're going to discuss salary roles and trends in the big data architecture and engineering positions. Just to refresh your mind, remember the O'Reilly Data Science Salary Survey, where big data architects reported mostly using more of Java and Cassandra and Hortonworks, and big data engineers were working with Scala, Spark, and MongoDB. Let's see the demand. This map shows the demand or the number of positions open for big data engineers in the United States. You can see that Washington, D.C. actually has the highest number of openings with 757, and then followed by San Francisco and Seattle. But there's there's thousands of openings for big data engineers in the United States at this time, and not to fret, because also in India there are a lot of positions, even more openings in India. So for people with Hadoop skills, there are 3,193 positions open. For Spark skills, there's 1,379 positions open. For people with no SQL skills, there's 2,976 positions open. You guys can read this, but the point is that there's a lot of opportunity for big data engineers in India as well. The source for this information comes from Indeed India. Looking at how much money big data engineers are earning in the United States, I want to emphasize here that when you look at this, these are big data engineer positions, but if you take big data professionals with a full spectrum of skills, what I've called hybridization, they have even higher earning potential than these numbers. But you can see that, of course, in San Francisco, big data engineers are making the most money at about almost $140,000 a year. And then over in Washington, D.C., where there's more demand, they're earning slightly less at $125,000 per year. And over in Seattle, where they also have a lot of demand, people are earning about $127,000 per year. Now, I looked into what I could find about these annual salaries in India. It looks like PayScale has some good data, and it at least provided some information about the data analyst, data scientist, and big data architect roles there. Data analysts are earning 441,000 rupees as an annual salary. Data scientists are earning 1.3 million rupees as a annual salary, and big data architects earn just over 2 million rupees per year. And all those hybrid roles where you can earn the real big bucks, this is what I was talking about. These are the big data professionals that have mastered both aspects of architecture and engineering, plus some. So you can see that a professional with skills in Hadoop, Kafka, Cassandra, Spark, Scala, and MongoDB are earning up to $140,000 per year. But then, of course, the demand for these positions is lower. So there's about 101 jobs that are asking for all of these skill sets. I'll just take you through a few more because you can look and kind of see for yourself what you're interested in. But Kafka, Hadoop, Cassandra, Spark, and MongoDB, a position that requires all of those skills. There's 106 of them, and they're averaging out at salaries of about $133,000 per year. And then for people with skills in Hadoop, Cassandra, Spark, and MongoDB, which are what you will pick up just by following the basic 3 steps that we laid out for you, they're earning $130,000 per year, and there's 195 positions currently available in the United States. All of this data is coming from Indeed.com. So now you understand what these technologies and skill sets are and how they integrate together to form a big data solution. We want to discuss with you the next steps to take. I'm going to turn it over to AJ for that. And then if you have questions, make sure to put them in the question client so that I can get to them in our Q&A session after your poll.
Thanks, Lillian. That was a really enlightening webinar. There are some very interesting takeaways I think all of us can take from this session, especially about how multi-skilling, having a bunch of big data skills can greatly push up your career. And at the same time, it was also very interesting to understand where these areas big data technologies fit in and how for different kinds of roles you need to develop a different kind of skill set. So, folks, with all these insights and then the different with the industry know-how and insights, we have actually developed a big data Hadoop architect program. So this is intended for to provide the skill set of a big data Hadoop architect. So as you can see, all the skills that we talked about, which are required for the big data Hadoop role and which ensure that you get the best roles and the best salaries, are included in this. Not just we have these in-depth full-length courses which have projects, practice quizzes, simulation exams, and so on. In addition, we also have expert mentoring sessions so that you can regularly touch base with our experts. And as well as we also have a very active forum where you can at any point of time talk to our teaching assistants or our experts so that they can help you both with either your career or with any technical issues that you might be having. So this is a great program. We have built it after a lot of inputs from industry experts, our influencers, a lot of statistics, and we hope you can use this to further the potential of your career. And as an exclusive, because for all the people who have attended this webinar, we have a coupon code which is exclusive for our Simplilearn alumni. As you can see, you can read the coupon code. It's Masters Webinar 40. It's applicable for a week. We hope you make use of this. Sure, Lillian.
Yeah. Okay, great. I saw a question about okay, sorry. I was just reading some questions about titles beyond developer. So of course we've discussed architect, engineer, and developers, but then there's also going to be big data scientists, analysts, and specialists. I've seen all of these types of titles within position descriptions, and they're used loosely. So I felt pretty lucky to have found that survey where people actually responded and kind of gave a better definition of what they're doing as engineers and architects. But for the most part, when you're looking at job ads, you have to kind of just decipher between them and see which ones are most interesting to you and the ones that you're best qualified for. So, someone asked yeah?
Yeah. Lillian, we have a question from Indranil. He has a question saying, how long does it take to gain all these skill sets? So imagine if he's going for a big data Hadoop architect, he wants to know how much time will he take to achieve the skill set.
I think that depends on the amount of time you have to invest in your training. Like if you have a full-time position and you're just working on your coursework at night, then and taking it at a slow pace, then you could spend 2 years doing something like that. But if you're working steadily on getting trained and experienced, I don't want to understate that the importance of also getting experience. I'd say 6 to 9 months to get through the series that Simplilearn has laid out. It also depends on your background, though, because depending on the skill sets you already have and what programming languages you already know, it could take longer or it could take less time.
And just to add, from a statistical perspective, usually the full-length courses that Simplilearn has, we have seen that average learners usually take about 2 months to finish a course, and the shorter courses usually they take about 3 to 5 weeks. So that gives you an estimate of how much time the whole skill set will take. And Neha has this question that if I had to choose among these skills, how would I prioritize them? I know Hadoop, but which is the next skill that I have to pick?
Well, okay, so that goes back to the three-step process that we discussed. Use MongoDB, Spark, and Scala courses as step 2, and then take the Cassandra courses step 3. And then I would suggest taking some other courses like in Impala or Kafka as well if you really want to get yourself a better position.
Lillian, we have a question from Jyoti. She wants to know that she says she's not from a developer background, but she has been working, she has been an ERP professional for the last 15 years. So she wants to know how she can, develop her profile so that she can work in big data.
Well, if she has IT experience, then, she just needs to get trained and start working on projects. I don't know her background. So I can't really say exactly what she would specifically need to do.
Okay. And Abhishek has a question. He's actually from a quality assurance background. He has about 10 years of experience. He's got his Hadoop certificate, and he's a little confused about which area to go towards. So he wants to know if you can throw some more light on that.
I think that's kind of a personal question because he needs to. I think that this is sort of. I thought that they were going to talk to you about kind of career guidance of like that comes down to what his passion is, and
Yeah, sure. Sure, we'll have somebody with our career consultant connect with Abhishek so that we can take up the matter personally. And we have a question by Sharat Chandra where he talks about, he's asking what is the difference? Can you elaborate on the difference between MongoDB and Cassandra?
Yeah, so both of them are NoSQL databases, but MongoDB is used as it's a document store, and Cassandra is for key value pair data. So that's the largest, the most glaring difference between them.
So Apoorv has a question which is more related to the data scientist. So he wants to know, because we went into detail on the big data architect role, he wants to know what kind of skill set would you recommend for being a data scientist in the USA.
So if you want to work as a data scientist, then you definitely need to get trained in either R or Python and SQL, and then I don't think that IT professionals make the best data scientists because usually their subject matter expertise isn't as specialized as it needs to be to derive insights when they're analyzing data. So I guess you would need to kind of get some experience in what your subject matter expertise is, and machine learning, data visualization, and work on having solid communication skills as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so someone says here that they're working in the financial domains. And if you have a strong subject matter expertise in finance, and you're interested in data analysis and taking data derived from big data sources and helping in decision support, helping to advance businesses, then data scientist sounds like a good role for you.
I think, Lillian, we have come to the end of our questions. Thanks a lot for patiently answering all our queries. To all the participants, we will be sharing the recording of this webinar with you so that you can refer back to it. And also, if you we can get in touch with us. We'll also, the people who had personalized queries, we'll have our career consultants reach out to you. Thanks a lot, Lillian. Thanks a lot, folk, for sharing your time with us. Hope you benefited from this webinar and you choose Simplilearn to partner for your career success going forward too. Thanks a lot.